As we've seen in previous movies in this chapter, we use positioning and text wrapping to alter the relative layout of text and graphics within our document. Sometimes it's really important that a graphic and the text that describes it be next to each other. The kind of layout that used to be called parallel columns, where we have information in column A and B and C and it all goes together. An example here would be these illustrations that are simply illustrations of who would get manufacturing benefits, what kind of employees would get horticultural benefits. And I really would like to have these two things stay next to each other. This is only the beginning of a list of benefits. We'll also include images for our retail employees. We'll include images for the folks who work in administration. And I'd like to get this right from the beginning rather than struggle with the placement of images as I resize items and move them. And so the trick that I'm going to use here is something that we learned from creating web pages, which is to use layout tables in order to keep text and graphics in a particular relationship to each other. I'm going to hold Control and hit Home and go to the beginning of my document, press Enter once, and then simply insert a table. And I have one image, some text for each image. That would give me 2 columns, but I'm going to add a third column to be able to adjust the space between the graphics and the text. So I'm going to insert a 3x2 table. I'm going to move this image into the table, take this text and place it here, simply using drag and drop to make this happen, and then I'm going to adjust the gutter here. And I'm going to the end of this line and pressing Delete to delete the extra paragraph that's there. Move my picture of a tree in, and go cut and paste my horticultural benefits with drag and drop. So I have a nice looking table, very easily created. I have a couple of choices. One is that I can keep the images the size they are and move the text over a little bit. That seems to work. I can also adjust these images either alone or in relationship to each other. So I'm going to simply center these images within the horizontal dimension of the cell, but this is a table, and so I could actually select this entire column, right-click, choose Table Properties, and set my vertical alignment for the cell, which moved this image down. Or, while I have this column in the table selected, I can right-click and choose Cell Alignment and choose one of these 6 alignments until I find the one that I like. The Align Center Right, which gives me a crisp right edge here. Now this looks like a table, and it is a table, so when I press Tab, I can add my administrative employees or anyone else. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to get rid of the borders that make it look like a table. So I'm going to select the table and choose No Border, and now I'll have only grid lines. Let's take a look at this backstage in the print preview, and you'll notice this looks pretty good. I'd really like this image to sit higher or my manufacturing benefits to sit lower, and I'd like more of a break here between my first image and text for manufacturing benefits and my second. More of a break would make these look like they went together a little better. A few ways that I can make that happen. First, I could make this image a little smaller. And if I did, then I could move this line for the column break and this one more. And that actually makes the text wider and therefore could be slightly shorter. But I really want to include a blank row here. So I'm going to insert a row above and use that to provide the real break between these 2 pieces of text. And then I have to decide if I really need this side alignment, because it would be better in this cell if this graphic were at the top to more closely align with the heading in the cell to the right. So I'm going to choose upper right, and I'll just do that for both of these because it makes good sense to do that. Again, I'm formatting the cell, not the picture, and I'm choosing cell alignment, upper right. Now let's go back and take a look at this in preview again, and that's what it will look like. So we have clearly images going with specific blocks of text. Now, before I leave this, I want to say that there's one more way we could have thought about doing this, and that is rather than having a very regular table, picture, text, we could have a layout that would have text and a picture, and then picture and then a text, which is very attractive. In order to do that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to draw a table that's 5 columns wide, and we'll do this relatively quickly. If you want to know more about the table tools, see the chapter on creating tables, and you might want to know about merging and splitting cells. But I'm going to click in the document, and we're going to lay out a really simple 5x2 table. And in the first cell, I'm going to hold Control to copy. We would like this image. And I'd still probably like another row here. So in the last cell, I would like this image. And now I'm going to select some text and merge these cells, and select some text here and merge these cells to have 2 places to be able to put my text. Here's my horticultural benefits, and I'll copy that down below. And here are my manufacturing benefits, and I will copy those down here. My table's a little bit long for the page, but as I make more room for my text here, more of it will fit. The same is true here. I can adjust these 2 columns and have lots of space. And then just so I can see it together on one page, I'm going to delete these rows. We could make this just a little more narrow yet. Let's remove our borders and go take a look at this in preview. And you'll notice that these images stick with their text as well, but it's a different layout that can be more interesting. Use text wrapping and positioning for many of the graphics that you want to place. But if you want precise graphics, the kind of graphics you get in lists that include illustrations, don't be afraid to leave the Graphics tab for a moment and insert a table to manage the layout for your document.